So, leading up to Christmas, my family and I were watching the 1970s cartoon "Twas the Night Before Christmas." And I love this because it's told from the perspective of the mice that live in the clockmaker's house and they witness the sort of poem of "Twas the Night Before Christmas" unfolding. And what I noticed while I was watching is that it's kind of a Victorian setting, just like this version of the book that I grew up reading. I love the illustrations, and as I'm watching this cartoon, I'm thinking of all the ways the mice have made their home, and it reminds me of this children's book that I loved growing up. It was a series of books called The Borrowers by Mary Norton, which was the same kind of concept. In fact, the family was called the Clocks, and they would borrow things from the human beings to make their home, just the way that the little mice did in "'Twas the Night Before Christmas." But then what really kicked it off was Christmas morning when we opened up a gift from one of my dear friends called Mousetown. And it's like a storybook, but it's got craft instructions inside and it shows you how to make all these little mouse sized crafts, like little things to eat or little tables or other furniture out of common household items. And I thought, well, this is it. We're doing this. We're making all of these crafts. And wouldn't it be so cool if I also got like a clock for all these little crafts to live in, and I could fix it up, and it could even be a little Christmas mouse house that we bring out every year at Christmas. And that was it. I was on Facebook Marketplace, and you will never believe what I found. So, $25 on Facebook Marketplace. I didn't even haggle because look at this. It's a clock, but then when you open it up, it's got all this storage inside, and really, it's in pretty good condition. I just have to do a little bit of fixing up. So, the first thing I'm going to want to do is to replace the hinge. Then, I'm going to paint an advent calendar on the back of this door. And then I can use this drawer here at the bottom for storage of little extra miniatures. The shelves are pretty solid, but unfortunately, they're just a little close together to do 1 inch, 1 foot scale. So I'm going to replace those shelves so that they're 8 inches apart. And other than that, I just need to touch up the paint outside and replace the battery or the clockworks, depending, to make the clock work again. So let's get started with cleaning. I just gave everything a good vacuum and swipe with Clorox wipes. Now it's time to work on the hinge. So you see this one is missing its hinge pin. So I tried replacing it with my thinnest nail that I have, which is one of these finishing nails. But unfortunately, it did not really fit in there. It was still a little bit too wide. Now, I could have gone to Home Depot and bought a new one, but in the spirit of the borrowers and the mice, and it was the night before Christmas, I want to only use what I already have around the house. So the next thinnest material I had was this gold jewelry wire, and with a bit of effort, I was able to get it in, trim it, and we now have a working hinge again. Now, thankfully, the outside finish of this clock is in really good condition, but there are some little nicks here and there and some deep scratches that I wanted to cover up. For that, I used these Guardsman furniture markers that I've had forever just for covering up little, divots and dimples on furniture. I start with the medium or lighter toned markers, and then if it's still not quite covering it up, I'll go to the darkest color marker. To take out the shelves, I ran a razor blade around the edges just to loosen up the paint, and it quickly became evident that they were held in there really well with staples, and nothing was going to move these shelves but brute force. So I turned it right side up, got gravity to help me out, and busted out the first shelf. I used the same process to get out the next few shelves, just running a razor blade all around the edges, but really it was just trying to break out these shelves with a lot of force. Speaking of, see how I am pounding on the shelves with my bare fists? Don't do that. That's stupid. Go get a rubber mallet. Learn from my mistakes. That was not a good idea. When I got to the last few shelves, I had a decision to make. Originally, I was going to leave the top shelf in place because it's 8 inches from that shelf to the bottom of the archway. But it's actually 12 inches from the shelf to the top of the archway, and I thought it might look a little out of proportion with the rest of the rooms. And in fact, as I back up and look over the whole piece, I can see that if I leave that top shelf in place, I'm going to have 23 inches total to either make 3 rooms that are slightly less than 8 inches or 2 rooms that are slightly more than 12 inches. And I'm thinking the right thing to do is to just take out all the shelves and measure some equidistant rooms once I've got it all cleared out. So, with a good bit of work, I got both of the remaining shelves out. I think it was definitely the right decision because now she's ready to go. Now that I've pulled out these last few staples, next week I'll be ready to patch and prime. In the meantime, as I'm putting away Christmas around the house, I'm going to pack up some of these little odds and ends that could be used in my mouse house. I hope you'll hit subscribe so you can follow along. Thanks for joining me.